At the traditionally dated Battle of Koyatan in 1201, an arrow reportedly struck Temüjin's horse and brought it down beneath him. Yet the enemy warrior who later claimed the shot was not executed. He entered Temüjin's service and received a new name, Jebe, meaning arrow. Why would a steppe commander reward the man who had just proved so dangerous, and what does that choice reveal about how Mongol power was built? The episode comes from The Secret History of the Mongols, a 13th century narrative composed within the Mongol imperial world. In its account, Temüjin asks who wounded his horse. A captured warrior named Jirqo'adai answers openly, accepting death but offering loyal service if spared. Temüjin praises the confession, renames him Jebe, and recruits him. Jebe would later appear as one of the commanders associated with Mongol campaigns far beyond Mongolia. But this famous exchange is not an independently verified transcript. No battlefield record preserves the conversation, and even the battle's dating and identification require caution. The secret history shaped remembered events into stories about character, loyalty, and legitimate rule. Its dialogue may preserve a real encounter, literary construction, or both. That uncertainty is not a reason to discard the story. It is the evidence we must investigate. We will compare the narrative with what is known about steppe warfare, personal followings, captured talent, and the political problem Temüjin faced, turning rival fighters into dependable members of a new coalition. The crucial question is therefore larger than mercy. Jebe's promotion may reveal a recruitment system in which demonstrated ability and publicly transferred loyalty could matter more than inherited allegiance, and a court narrative designed to make that dangerous principle appear wise. The crucial evidence is not an arrowhead or a battlefield record, but a court narrative, the secret history of the Mongols. It says a Tai warrior named Jirqo'adai admitted shooting Temüjin's mount, and that Temüjin renamed him Jebe, arrow, before taking him into service. But how much of that exchange can bear historical weight? The bounded question is whether the text preserves an eyewitness confession or shapes remembered events into an argument about rightful rule. The secret history was composed in Mongolian after the conquests had transformed Temüjin into Chinggis Khan, probably in the 13th century, although its precise date and stages of composition remain disputed. No original Mongolian manuscript survives. Its text reached us chiefly through a version written in Chinese characters to represent Mongolian sounds, accompanied by a Chinese translation and glosses transmitted under the Ming dynasty. That distance does not make it worthless, but it prevents us from treating polished dialogue as a transcript. The defensible core is narrower. Jirqo'adai, known thereafter as Jebe, entered Chinggis Khan's service and became a prominent commander. His later campaigns across Central Asia and toward the Caucasus show that a former enemy was genuinely absorbed into the expanding command system. The exact projectile, which horse it struck, the wording of his confession, and whether candor motivated his promotion are less secure. They may preserve authentic memory, they may also be narrative craftsmanship. As factual testimony, then, the episode supports recruitment across defeated groups more strongly than it proves a dramatic interview. As literature, it presents Temüjin rewarding courage, honesty, and practical value, while turning submission into loyalty. The story's larger truth lies in that institution. Mongol expansion depended not simply on one ruler's mercy, but on converting enemy skill into imperial capacity. The puzzle at the Kuriltai of 1206 is not simply how Temüjin became Chinggis Khan, but how his victory altered loyalties below the throne. The secret history of the Mongols records appointments to 95 commands of 1,000 and the allocation of subject households among imperial relatives and officers. What then happened when inherited allegiance to a clan was overlaid by allegiance to a numbered unit and its commander? Decimal organization, units of tens, hundreds, and thousands, was older than Chinggis Khan, so this was not a sudden Mongol invention. His crucial move was political. Conquered Tai, Kerate, Naiman, and other populations could be broken up, reassigned or incorporated beneath commanders whose standing depended upon the new ruler. The text preserves grants of people alongside promotions, revealing that the settlement organized productive households as well as battlefield manpower. Scholars disagree over how completely this shattered tribal society. Kinship remained powerful, and some units probably preserved existing bonds. But the recorded redistribution shows a deliberate capacity to cut across them. Command now linked military service, taxation, herding labor, and access to protection. For an ordinary fighter, that could open a route upward. Service and demonstrated loyalty might matter more than noble ancestry. Men from defeated groups, Jebe among them, could acquire rank within the victorious coalition. Their families might gain security under a commander able to defend pasture and distribute rewards. Yet incorporation was also coercive. Households were allocated, not consulted. The secret history's regulations restricted movement between commands and threatened punishment for those who abandoned their assigned unit. New officers could count, mobilize, and watch populations unfamiliar to them. The reform weakened inherited alignments by making survival depend increasingly on an imperial chain of command, an institution offering advancement precisely because it also possessed unprecedented power to relocate and discipline. The appointments preserved in the secret history pose a sharper mystery than Jebe's pardon. Why do commanders from strikingly different backgrounds rise beside Chinggis Khan's own kin? The answer matters because it reveals whether the new Mongol order was truly meritocratic or merely a different form of personal rule. 3 careers, Jebe, Subedei, and Muqali, let us test a bounded claim. When could demonstrated ability outweigh pedigree? Jebe began as Jirqo'adai, a Taiyi enemy. After submitting, he earned command through campaigns stretching from northern China to Central Asia. Subedei came from the Uriankai and belonged to the family of Jelme, an early companion of Temüjin. Later tradition associates his household with smithing, although treating him simply as a poor blacksmith's son overstates uncertain evidence. His advancement is clearer. Repeated operational success made him one of the empire's most trusted planners. Muqali from the Jalaya followed another path. His family entered Temüjin's service, and Muqali's record in war and governance brought extraordinary delegation. In 1217, Chinggis Khan entrusted him with continuing the campaign against the Jin in northern China, supported by armies, administrators, scouts, messengers, and subject allies. These commanders rose because conquest required more than noble birth. It required people who could deliver intelligence, coordinate forces, reward followers, and produce victories far from the Khan. But this was selective mobility, not modern meritocracy. Promotion remained a personal grant. Kinship, household service, patronage, and access to the ruler shaped opportunity. Divided allegiance or disobedience could end in death. Ability outweighed pedigree only when fused with loyalty and results. The wider transformation was therefore institutional but deeply personal. Chinggis Khan widened the pool of talent while making every successful career depend upon the imperial center. The mystery after 1206 is administrative. How could conquered Taiyichiyut, Kereyit, and Naiman fighters become troops a distant commander could count, move, and punish? The secret history of the Mongols records Chinggis Khan's appointments over units of 10, 100, and 1,000. Rashid al-Din's 14th century Persian Compendium of Chronicles describes the larger decimal order. Together, they reveal the machinery beneath Mongol mobility. Households and fighting men were registered into nested commands. 10 under a leader, 10 tens forming 100, 10 hundreds a mingan or 1,000, and 10 mingans ideally a tumen or 10,000. The secret history names 95 commanders of thousands after the settlement of 1206. That demonstrates an administrative framework, not 95 perfectly full formations. Registration fixed obligations: who owed service, who commanded whom, and which household supplied manpower. Conquered groups could be divided and reassigned, weakening older loyalties. Command became transferable. An appointed officer could direct people outside his lineage, because authority descended through the hierarchy, not merely through kinship. Discipline made the ledger operational. Men could not leave assigned units without permission. Commanders accepting unauthorized transfers faced punishment. Medieval accounts also describe collective penalties when members of a 10 abandoned comrades. Every small group therefore monitored itself, spreading enforcement down to ordinary herders turned soldiers. Yet the decimal machine was an ideal, not a census table. Scholars dispute whether Mingans and Tumens consistently reached their named strength. Losses, recruitment, and local conditions produced uneven units. Decimal organization also predated Chinggis among steppe neighbors. His achievement was to scale and enforce it. Absorbed enemies became accountable soldiers, and conquest became governable through lists, officers, and mutual responsibility. Jebe's last attested command poses a narrower test than the famous arrow story. Did Temüjin's pardon produce only one memorable promotion, or years of trust at the highest operational level? The strongest evidence is Jebe's joint command with Sube'etei during the pursuit of the fugitive Khwarezm Shah, Muhammad II, beginning in 1220. That record can show sustained responsibility. It cannot show exactly how Mongol institutions secured his loyalty. The campaign is reconstructed chiefly from later narratives, especially Artamalik Javini's History of the World Conqueror, Rashid al-Din's Compendium of Chronicles, and accounts by Ibn al-Athir and Armenian and Georgian chroniclers. Their details do not always agree. Broadly, Jebe and Sube'etei pursued Muhammad westward across Iran until his death on an island in the Caspian Sea. Their forces then continued through the Caucasus, fought Georgian armies, entered the steppe north of the Black Sea, and defeated a coalition of Rus princes and Cuman allies at the Kalka River in 1223. That extraordinary route demonstrates consequential command, but its mandate remains disputed. Some historians interpret it as a pursuit that expanded into reconnaissance and opportunistic war. Others describe it as a deliberately authorized exploration of the Western approaches. The surviving narratives do not preserve orders precise enough to decide, nor do they securely settle Jebe's fate. He disappears from the record around the return journey. Traditions placing his death during the campaign compete with arguments that he survived, and neither conclusion is firmly established. The bounded finding is therefore significant but modest. Temüjin repeatedly entrusted a former enemy with armies operating far from him beside another senior commander across unfamiliar political landscapes. Jebe's career reveals durable confidence, not the administrative machinery behind it. The sources show the result of incorporated loyalty. They leave its daily enforcement through divided command, discipline, rewards, messengers, and mutual surveillance largely unseen. So, did Temüjin truly spare the man who shot his horse, rename him Jebe, and make him a general? The secret history preserves that confession, but it was compiled decades after the event, and no independent battlefield record confirms the exact shot, dialogue, or renaming. Those details may be literal memory, shaped court tradition, or a story polished to express an accepted political ideal. The uncertainty matters, but it does not empty the episode of meaning. What is established is that Jebe entered Chinggis Khan's service from a defeated enemy and became a major commander. His later campaigns, also described in Persian and Chinese traditions, demonstrate sustained trust rather than a single theatrical pardon. The practical bargain was severe but intelligible. Demonstrated competence, submission, and dependable service could transform a dangerous rival into an imperial asset. Advancement was possible, but only after older loyalties yielded to the Khan's command. That conversion worked because it was institutional, not merely personal. Conquered populations were redistributed, warriors reorganized into decimal units, commanders made responsible for discipline, and armies connected by messengers, remounts, intelligence, and systems of supply. Talent could therefore be detached from tribe or defeated ruler and inserted into a larger machine of coordinated conquest. Jebe's promotion was exceptional in scale, not in logic. Mongol expansion depended on repeatedly absorbing soldiers, artisans, translators, officials, herders, and local knowledge. For some, incorporation offered survival, status, or mobility. For others, it meant coerced service, displacement, tribute, and separation from established communities. Beyond the empire's ranks, conquest brought massacre and devastation. The horse-shot story endures because it compresses that wider system into one encounter. An enemy could become a general, while the institutions enabling his rise also projected violence across continents.